a world consumed by wickedness where humanity had strayed so far from goodness that God himself regretted creating them. But among all these people there was one man who stood out, Noah, a righteous man who walked faithfully with God. God looked down at his creation and saw the corruption, the violence, the darkness that had spread across the earth. And so he spoke to Noah, sharing his heartbreaking decision to cleanse the world with a great flood. But Noah and his family would be saved. God gave Noah specific instructions. Build an ark, a massive wooden vessel, 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet high. Can you imagine? Noah, probably in his 500s at this point, taking on such an enormous task. Layer by layer, plank by plank, he worked with his 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The people around must have thought he was crazy, building a giant boat on dry land. They laughed, they mocked, but Noah kept building. For decades he worked, all while warning his neighbors about the coming judgment, hoping they would turn from their wicked ways. Then came God's next instruction. Bring 2 of every kind of animal, male and female, and 7 pairs of every clean animal and bird. The animals came, guided by God himself, entering the ark in pairs. Noah's family gathered food for everyone, enough to last many months. Finally, Noah, his wife, his 3 sons, and their wives entered the ark. And then, something that had never happened before began. It rained. Not just a sprinkle, but rain like no one had ever seen. For 40 days and 40 nights, water poured from the sky. Springs burst forth from the ground. The waters rose higher and higher until even the highest mountains were covered. Every living thing outside the ark perished. The waters flooded the earth for 150 days. Can you imagine being on that ark? The sounds of the animals, the creaking of the wooden beams, the constant motion of the water. Noah and his family waited patiently, trusting in God's promise. Then God sent a wind to help the waters recede. The ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah sent out a raven, then a dove, waiting for signs that the earth was dry again. When the dove finally returned with an olive leaf, Noah knew the waters were receding. After more than a year on the ark, God told Noah it was time to leave. Imagine that first step onto dry ground, the fresh air, the new beginning. God made a covenant with Noah, promising never to flood the entire earth again. As a sign of this promise, he set a rainbow in the sky, a beautiful reminder of God's faithfulness that we still see today. This story, passed down through generations, reminds us of both God's justice and his mercy, his judgment and his grace. Through one faithful man's obedience, humanity was given a second chance, a new beginning, a fresh start.